Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in life when you must draw a line. A line that declares no more. A line that says, I know who I am and I refuse to be taken for granted. You see, life will test you and so will people. Some will see your kindness as weakness, your generosity as an invitation, and your loyalty as something to exploit. But let me tell you this, you are not here to be anyone's doormat. You are here to live a life of dignity, purpose, and power. Too often we give too much of ourselves to people who take without ever giving back. We let guilt, fear, or the desire to please keep us in relationships with situations where we're undervalued. But there comes a point when you must decide to reclaim your worth. That's not selfishness. That's survival. You cannot pour into others from an empty cup. You cannot save anyone else if you're drowning in your own pain. You knowing your worth is the foundation for living a life of dignity and self-respect. It is about recognizing the unique value you bring to the world, your talents, your kindness, your energy, and your very presence. Too often people forget their worth because they have allowed others to dictate it for them. They internalize negative comments, criticism, or neglect, believing they are less than they truly are. But the truth is this, your worth is not determined by someone else's opinion or treatment of you. It comes from within, from the undeniable fact that you are inherently valuable and deserving of respect, love, and opportunity. To know your worth means to stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison is a thief that robs you of confidence and peace of mind. When you constantly measure your achievements, looks, or abilities against someone else's, you lose sight of your own unique strengths. The world has a way of glorifying certain traits or accomplishments, making people believe that if they don't fit a specific mold, they aren't good enough. But you must remember that your path is your own and your worth is not contingent on matching someone else's journey. Celebrate who you are and what you bring to the table. Every person has their own gifts, and comparing yourself diminishes the ability to recognize and embrace yours. Knowing your worth also requires taking an honest inventory of the people and environments around you. If you are surrounded by individuals who constantly belittle you, manipulate you, or fail to see your value, it's time to reassess those relationships. Toxic people can erode your sense of self-worth, leaving you feeling small and powerless. But you must understand that their behavior says more about them than it does about you. No one who truly values and respects you will treat you in a way that makes you question your worth. Protect your energy by surrounding yourself with those who uplift and support you. Self-worth is also deeply tied to self-awareness. You need to reflect on your strengths, accomplishments, and what makes you unique. Think about the challenges you've overcome and the skills you've gained through experience. Too often, people focus on their flaws or failures, ignoring the resilience and determination they've shown throughout their lives. Remind yourself of these victories, no matter how small they may seem. Each one is a testament to your strength and capability, reinforcing the truth that you are worthy of success and happiness. Additionally, knowing your worth means refusing to let others take advantage of you. There will always be people who try to use your kindness, time, or skills for their own benefit, offering little in return. If you allow this to happen, you may start to feel like your only value lies in what you can do for others. This is not true. Your worth is not transactional. It is not tied to how much you can give or sacrifice for others. While it is good to help and support those around you, it must come from a place of mutual respect and reciprocity. If someone only values you for what you provide, they are not seeing you for who you truly are. You knowing your worth also means being willing to walk away from situations that do not serve you. This might mean leaving a job where your contributions are overlooked, ending a relationship where you are not valued, or distancing yourself from friendships that drain your energy. Walking away can be difficult, especially when you fear being alone or uncertain about what comes next. But staying in situations that chip away at your self-esteem will only cause further harm. Trust that by choosing yourself, you open the door to opportunities and relationships that align with your value. It's important to recognize that knowing your worth is not a one-time realization, it is a continuous practice. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when you feel less confident, or when circumstances challenge your belief in yourself. During these moments, remind yourself of your value. Affirmations can be a powerful tool for this. Speak words of encouragement to yourself, such as, I am enough, I deserve respect, or my worth is not defined by others. Over time, these affirmations will become ingrained in your mindset, helping you stand firm in your self-worth even during challenging times. Finally, knowing your worth is about taking responsibility for how you treat yourself. Will you speak kindly to yourself, or do you criticize every mistake? Do you invest time in self-care, or do you neglect your needs to please others? Treat yourself with the same compassion and care you would offer to someone you deeply love. When you prioritize your well-being and hold yourself in high regard, others will follow suit. You teach people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. When you know your worth, you radiate confidence and strength. You stop seeking validation from external sources and start living authentically. You become unshakable in the face of negativity because you understand that no one can take away what you already own, your inherent value. Remember, your worth is not up for debate. It is a truth that you must embrace and carry with you every single day. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can ever commit to. Boundaries are not about pushing people away or being cold. They are about defining how you want to be treated and ensuring that your mental, emotional, and physical well-being is protected. Without clear boundaries, life can become chaotic and overwhelming as others will take liberties with your time, energy, and resources. Learning to set boundaries is not just about improving relationships with others, it's about cultivating a healthier relationship with yourself. The first step in setting boundaries is recognizing your limits. Many people go through life ignoring the signals their mind and body send them when they are overstretched. They say yes to things they don't want to do, endure disrespectful behavior, and overcommit themselves, all because they fear disappointing others or being judged. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. When you continuously push past your limits to accommodate others, you neglect your own needs, leading to stress, resentment, and burnout. Setting boundaries starts with an honest assessment of what you can handle and what you are willing to tolerate. Communicating boundaries is essential, but it can feel uncomfortable at first. Many people struggle with this because they fear conflict or worry about being seen as selfish. However, expressing your needs and limits is not selfish, it is necessary for mutual respect. When you communicate boundaries, you are teaching people how to treat you. For instance, if someone constantly interrupts your personal time or crosses the line with their behavior, it's your responsibility to address it. You might say, I need uninterrupted time to focus, so I can't take calls after 8 p.m. or I value our relationship, but I'm uncomfortable with that tone of voice. Statements like these are clear, respectful, and assertive. They show that you value yourself enough to protect your space and energy. It's important to remember that boundaries aren't meant to control others. They are about defining what you will and won't accept. You cannot force someone to respect your boundaries, but you can control how you respond when they don't. For example, if someone repeatedly ignores your limits, it's a sign that they do not respect you, and it might be necessary to distance yourself from them. People who truly care about you will respect the boundaries you set, even if it takes time for them to adjust. And one of the challenges of setting boundaries is dealing with guilt. Many people feel guilty when they start prioritizing themselves because they have been conditioned to believe that being accommodating and self-sacrificing is virtuous. But there is nothing virtuous about neglecting your own well-being for the sake of others. Guilt is often a sign that you are stepping out of your comfort zone and learning to value yourself more. Over time, as you see the positive effects of boundaries on your life, the guilt will diminish and you will realize that you are not responsible for other people's feelings or reactions to your boundaries. Boundaries also help you create balance in your life. Without them, it's easy to spread yourself too thin and lose sight of your priorities. By setting limits, you free up time and energy to focus on what truly matters, whether that's your career, relationships, health, or personal growth. For example, if you're constantly saying yes to every request at work, you may find yourself exhausted and unable to perform at your best. By setting a boundary, such as delegating tasks or saying no to excessive demands, you regain control over your workload and create space for rest and reflection. Another key aspect of boundaries is self-enforcement. It is not enough to set them, you must also uphold them consistently. If you set a boundary but fail to enforce it, people will quickly learn that they can ignore it without consequences. For instance, if you tell someone that you can't take phone calls during dinner but consistently pick up the phone anyway, you are teaching them that your boundaries are flexible. Enforcing boundaries requires discipline and self-respect. It means being firm even when it's uncomfortable and reminding yourself that protecting your peace is more important than avoiding temporary discomfort. Boundaries extend beyond interpersonal relationships. They also apply to how you manage your time and commitments. Setting boundaries with yourself is just as important as setting them with others. For example, you might decide to limit the amount of time you spend on social media or set aside specific hours each day for self-care. These internal boundaries help you stay focused, maintain balance, and avoid distractions that pull you away from your goals. They are a form of self-discipline that allows you to live intentionally rather than reactively. One of the most empowering aspects of boundaries is how they strengthen your relationships. When you set clear limits, you create an environment of mutual respect and understanding. Healthy boundaries prevent resentment from building up as they ensure that both parties' needs are acknowledged and respected. They also encourage open communication and foster trust as people know where they stand with you and what they can expect. Ultimately, boundaries are about protecting your energy and ensuring that you are treated with the respect you deserve. They are a declaration of your self-worth and a way of saying, I matter too. Setting boundaries may not always be easy, but it is one of the most important steps you can take toward living a life that honors your values and priorities. By setting and enforcing boundaries, you create a life that aligns with your needs, your peace, and your sense of purpose. Learning to say no without guilt is a powerful skill that can transform your life. For many, the word no feels heavy, as though it carries the weight of disappointing others, creating conflict, or appearing selfish. But in truth, saying no is an act of self-respect and a declaration of ownership over your time, energy, and priorities. It's about recognizing that you cannot do everything, be everywhere, or please everyone is perfectly okay. The struggle to say no often stems from a deep desire to be liked and accepted. People worry that if they refuse a request, they'll be seen as unkind or uncooperative. This mindset is rooted in the belief that their worth is tied to how much they can do for others. However, saying yes to everyone and everything is not a sustainable path. When you overcommit, you spread yourself too thin, leaving little time or energy for the things that truly matter to you. You may find yourself exhausted, resentful, and even less effective in fulfilling the commitments you've taken on. Learning to say no is about breaking free from the trap of people-pleasing and focusing on what aligns with your values and goals. Saying no requires clarity about your priorities. If you are unsure of what matters most to you, it becomes easy to say yes to things that don't serve your purpose. For example, imagine you're working on an important personal project that requires your full attention, but a colleague asks you to help with a task that isn't your responsibility. If your priorities are clear, you'll recognize that saying yes to the colleague means saying no to your own work. This awareness allows you to make decisions that align with your goals instead of being swayed by external pressures. Knowing your priorities gives you the confidence to say no without feeling guilty because you understand the bigger picture of what you're working toward. One of the keys to saying no effectively is to do so with honesty and kindness. A firm but respectful no sets boundaries without damaging relationships. You don't need to justify your decision with lengthy explanations. A simple, polite statement is enough. For instance, if someone asks you to take on an extra task at work, you can say, I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm unable to take this on right now due to other commitments. This approach is straightforward and leaves no room for misinterpretation. It shows that you value your time and are clear about your limits. Another aspect of saying no without guilt is overcoming the fear of rejection. Many people say yes out of a fear that others will think less of them or stop liking them if they refuse a request. However, this fear is often unfounded. People who truly value and respect you will understand and appreciate your honesty. In fact, setting boundaries can strengthen relationships because it fosters mutual respect. When you say no, you're not rejecting the person, you're simply prioritizing your needs. Those who cannot accept your boundaries may not have your best interests at heart, and their reactions are a reflection of them, not you. It's also important to remember that saying no is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of self-preservation. You cannot give your best to others if you are constantly drained or overwhelmed. By saying no to things that don't align with your priorities, you create space for the things that do. This doesn't mean you should never help others or be flexible when needed, but it does mean being intentional about where and how you invest your time and energy. Helping others is most meaningful when it comes from a place of genuine willingness, not from obligation or guilt. Saying no is a skill that improves with practice. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to being agreeable or accommodating. Start small by setting boundaries in less critical areas of your life. For instance, if a friend invites you to an event you're not interested in, practice politely declining. Over time, as you see the positive impact of saying no on your mental and emotional well-being, it will become easier to use this skill in more significant situations. When you say no without guilt, you reclaim control over your life. You stop being reactive to the demands of others and start living proactively, guided by your own goals and values. You also model healthy behavior for those around you, showing them that it's okay to prioritize themselves as well. This can inspire others to set their own boundaries, creating a ripple effect of mutual respect and understanding. One of the most liberating aspects of saying no is the freedom it brings. It frees you from the pressure to conform to others' expectations and allows you to focus on what truly matters. You gain clarity, peace of mind, and the ability to be more present and effective in the areas of your life that are most important to you. Saying no is not about closing doors, it's about opening the right ones. When you learn to say no without guilt, you take a bold step toward living a life that honors your worth, your time, and your priorities. Understanding that your time and energy are precious resources is a transformative realization. Time is the one resource that can never be replenished. Once a moment is gone, it's gone forever. Similarly, your energy is finite. It's the driving force behind everything you do, from your work and relationships to your personal growth. When you truly grasp the value of your time and energy, you become more intentional about how you use them. You begin to recognize that every minute spent on something unproductive, unimportant, or draining is a minute taken away from something meaningful. Many people fail to protect their time and energy because they don't see their worth or understand the power of prioritization. They feel obligated to say yes to every request, attend every meeting, or respond to every message, thinking that they owe others unlimited access to their lives. But the truth is, you do not owe your time or energy to anyone who does not respect it. The more you give these precious resources away without discernment, the more you deplete yourself and the less you have to give to the people and goals that matter most. But one of the first steps to protecting your time and energy is learning how to identify what truly matters to you. This requires deep self-reflection and clarity about your values, goals, and priorities. When you have a clear sense of what's important, it becomes easier to determine where your time and energy should be directed. For example, if your priority is building a career or improving your health, then activities that don't contribute to those goals may need to take a back seat. Clarity empowers you to make decisions that align with your purpose rather than letting external demands dictate how you spend your days. Another key to protecting your time and energy is setting boundaries. This involves being deliberate about who and what you allow into your life. Not everyone deserves access to your time or the privilege of draining your energy. There are people who uplift and inspire you, and there are those who drain and diminish you. It's crucial to differentiate between the two. For instance, a supportive friend who respects your boundaries and encourages your growth is worth investing your growth in energy in. On the other hand, a person who constantly complains, manipulates, or demands your attention without reciprocating should not have the same level of access to you. Saying no is an essential skill when it comes to protecting your time and energy. Many people struggle with this because they fear disappointing others or being perceived as unkind. However, every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you are saying no to something that does. For example, agreeing to attend an event you have no interest in might mean missing out on valuable time to rest, work on a personal project, or spend with loved ones. It's not selfish to prioritize your needs. It's a necessary act of self-care. By saying no to what drains you, you create space for what energizes and fulfills you. It's also important to manage how you invest your energy. While time is a fixed resource, energy fluctuates based on your mental, emotional, and physical state. Tasks that require focus, creativity, or decision-making are best tackled when your energy is at its peak. Conversely, engaging in activities that deplete your energy without providing value can leave you feeling drained and unproductive. Pay attention to how you feel after interacting with certain people or engaging in specific activities. If something consistently leaves you feeling exhausted, it's a sign that it may not be a good use of your energy. Protecting your time and energy also involves managing distractions. In today's world, it's easy to get pulled in 1,000 directions: emails, social media, endless notifications, and the constant pressure to multitask. These distractions may seem small, but they add up and take a significant toll on your productivity and mental well-being. To guard against this, create systems that help you stay focused. For instance, set designated times to check emails, silence notifications during work hours, and carve out uninterrupted blocks of time for deep work or relaxation. By minimizing distractions, you regain control over how you use your time and energy. Rest and self-care are also critical components of protecting your energy. Many people push themselves to the point of burnout, thinking that productivity means working nonstop. But rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Taking time to recharge allows you to show up fully for the things that matter. Whether it's through physical rest, like getting enough sleep, or mental rest, like taking breaks from constant stimulation, self-care replenishes your energy and improves your ability to handle life's demands. Lastly, protecting your time and energy means being intentional about the commitments you make. Before agreeing to anything, ask yourself whether it aligns with your goals and values. Will it bring you closer to where you want to be, or is it a distraction? Be honest about your capacity and avoid overcommitting out of guilt or obligation. It's better to focus on fewer things and do them well than to spread yourself too thin and accomplish little. When you understand the value of your time and energy, you begin to treat them as sacred resources. You stop giving them away carelessly and start using them with purpose and intention. This shift not only improves your productivity and well-being, but also allows you to live a life that reflects your true priorities. Recognize that your time and energy are finite and honor them by choosing how you spend them wisely. Paying attention to how people treat you is one of the most important ways to safeguard your well-being, self-worth, and emotional health. Relationships are a fundamental part of life, but not all relationships are created equal. Some lift you up, inspire you, and bring out the best in you, while others tear you down, drain your energy, and make you feel unworthy. Recognizing the difference between the two is crucial, as it allows you to identify which relationships are worth nurturing and which ones may require distance or boundaries. People's actions speak louder than their words. It's easy for someone to say they care about you, but their behavior is what truly reveals their intentions. For example, a person who consistently shows up for you in times of need, listens without judgment, and respects your boundaries demonstrates genuine care. On the other hand, someone who makes promises they never keep, belittles your feelings, or takes advantage of your kindness may not have your best interests at heart. Paying attention to these patterns of behavior helps you understand who values you and who might be using or mistreating you. One of the most telling signs of how people view you is how they react when you set boundaries. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, where both parties honor each other's limits. If someone becomes angry, manipulative, or dismissive when you assert your boundaries, it's a red flag. For instance, if you tell a friend that you can't help them with something because you're overwhelmed, and they respond with guilt-tripping or accusations of selfishness, it indicates a lack of respect for your needs. In contrast, someone who values you will understand and accept your decision without making you feel bad about it. Another key aspect of paying attention to how people treat you is observing whether their actions are consistent. Consistency is a hallmark of trustworthiness and reliability. A person who treats you well only when it's convenient for them or when they stand to gain something is not someone who truly values you. For example, a coworker who is friendly and helpful when they need your assistance but distant or dismissive at other times is displaying a pattern of behavior that suggests they are only interested in what you can do for them. Genuine relationships are consistent regardless of circumstances or personal gain. Paying attention also means noticing the little things. While grand gestures can be impressive, it's the small, everyday actions that reveal a person's true character. Does this person check in on you when you're feeling down? Do they remember the things you've shared with them and show genuine interest in your life? Do they celebrate your successes without jealousy or competition? These seemingly minor details provide valuable insight into how someone truly feels about you and whether they prioritize your well-being. It's equally important to be mindful of how people treat you when they're upset or under stress. Everyone has moments of frustration or anger, but how someone behaves during these times can reveal their underlying respect for you. A person who lashes out, insults you, or uses you as an emotional punching bag when they're upset is not treating you with the respect you deserve. On the other hand, someone who can communicate their feelings without being hurtful or disrespectful shows maturity and care even in difficult moments. Learning to pay attention to how people treat you also involves recognizing patterns over time. A single mistake or bad day doesn't define a person, but repeated behavior does. If someone continually disrespects you, takes you for granted, or ignores your needs, it's a clear indication that they do not value you in the way you deserve. This recognition can be painful, especially if the person is someone you care about deeply, but it's a necessary step in protecting yourself from unhealthy relationships. Trust your intuition when evaluating how people treat you. If something feels off, it probably is. Your instincts are often the first indicator that a relationship may not be healthy. For example, if you constantly feel drained, anxious, or unappreciated after interacting with someone, it's worth examining why. Similarly, If you find yourself making excuses for someone's behavior or ignoring red flags, it may be a sign that you're tolerating treatment that doesn't align with your self-worth. It's also important to pay attention to whether people reciprocate the effort and care you give. Relationships should be a two-way street where both parties contribute equally to the connection. If you're always the one initiating contact, offering support, or making sacrifices, it may indicate an imbalance. True relationships are built on mutual respect and effort, where both individuals invest in each other's happiness and well-being. Recognize that how people treat you is not a reflection of your worth, but of their character. Someone who mistreats or disrespects you does so because of their own issues, not because you are unworthy of kindness or respect. By paying attention to their actions, you empower yourself to make choices that prioritize your mental and emotional health. You deserve to be surrounded by people who value, respect, and uplift you. Never settle for less. Building self-respect is a cornerstone of living a fulfilling and empowered life. It is about recognizing your inherent worth and treating yourself with the same kindness, dignity, and care you would extend to someone you deeply admire. Self-respect shapes how you view yourself, how you allow others to treat you, and the choices you make. It forms the foundation of your boundaries, confidence, and overall sense of self-worth. Without self-respect, it's easy to fall into patterns of self-neglect, people-pleasing, or tolerating behavior that undermines your value. One of the first steps to building self-respect is understanding who you are and what you stand for. This requires a deep level of self-awareness. Take the time to reflect on your values, strengths, and aspirations. What matters most to you? What are your non-negotiables in relationships, work, and life? When you have a clear understanding of what you stand for, you are less likely to compromise your integrity or settle for less than you deserve. For instance, if honesty is one of your core values, you will naturally expect and demand honesty in your interactions with others because it aligns with your sense of self-respect. Self-respect also involves setting and maintaining boundaries. Boundaries are not about keeping others out. They're about protecting your peace and prioritizing your well-being. When you set boundaries, you are essentially telling the world, this is how I deserve to be treated. For example, if you find that someone constantly disrespects your time by being late or interrupting your work, establishing a boundary means addressing the issue and making it clear that such behavior is not acceptable. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to asserting yourself, but every time you enforce a boundary, you reinforce your self-respect. Another important aspect of self-respect is learning to say no without guilt. Many people struggle with this because they fear disappointing others or being perceived as unkind. Constantly saying yes to things that don't align with your values or priorities often leads to resentment, burnout, and a diminished sense of self-worth. Saying no is not about rejecting others, it's about honoring yourself. For instance, if you're asked to take on extra work that you don't have the capacity for, saying no is an act of self-respect. It shows that you value your time, energy, and mental health. Each time you stand firm in your decisions, you strengthen your sense of self-respect. Self-respect also means holding yourself accountable. This doesn't mean being overly critical or harsh with yourself, but rather acknowledging when you've made a mistake and taking responsibility for your actions. Owning up to your missteps is a sign of maturity and integrity, and it fosters self-respect because it shows that you value growth and honesty. For example, if you realize you've hurt someone with your words or actions, apologizing and making amends demonstrates respect, not only for the other person, but also for yourself. Accountability reinforces the idea that you are capable of learning and improving, which is a powerful boost to your self-respect. Taking care of your physical, emotional, and mental health is another essential component of building self-respect. When you prioritize self-care, you send a message to yourself that you are worthy of care and attention. This could mean exercising regularly, eating nourishing foods, seeking therapy if needed, or simply allowing yourself time to rest and recharge. Neglecting your health, on the other hand, can erode your self-respect over time, as it signals to your subconscious that your well-being is not a priority. Treat your body and mind as valuable assets and watch how your self-respect grows. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift and respect you is equally important. The company you keep has a profound impact on your self-perception and self-respect. If you're constantly around people who belittle, criticize, or take advantage of you, it becomes harder to maintain a sense of self-worth. On the other hand, being with individuals who celebrate your achievements, support your growth, and respect your boundaries reinforces your self-respect. Take stock of your relationships and ask yourself whether they add value to your life. If not, it may be time to reevaluate and make room for connections that align with your self-worth. Celebrating your accomplishments, no matter how small, is another way to build self-respect. Often, people focus so much on their shortcomings or what they haven't achieved that they overlook their successes. Take the time to acknowledge your progress, whether it's completing a project, overcoming a challenge, or simply showing up for yourself on a tough day. Recognizing your efforts and achievements validates your hard work and reminds you of your capabilities. This practice strengthens your self-respect because it shifts your focus from self-criticism to self-appreciation. Lastly, self-respect requires self-forgiveness. Everyone makes mistakes, and holding on to guilt or shame only weighs you down. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean excusing bad behavior. It means accepting that you are human and that imperfection is part of the journey. For instance, if you stayed in a toxic relationship or made choices that went against your values, forgive yourself for those moments. Use them as lessons to grow and do better in the future. Self-forgiveness allows you to release the burden of past mistakes and move forward with a renewed sense of self-respect. When you cultivate self-respect, you transform the way you see yourself and how others see you. You no longer seek validation from external sources because you know your worth. You make choices that align with your values, set boundaries that protect your peace, and surround yourself with people who reflect the respect you have for yourself. Self-respect is not something that happens overnight. It's a daily practice of choosing to honor yourself in every aspect of your life. By committing to this practice, you create a foundation of strength, confidence, and authenticity that empowers you to live a life of integrity and purpose. Building self-respect is an ongoing practice that shapes how you live, interact with others, and view yourself. By understanding your values, setting boundaries, holding yourself accountable, prioritizing self-care, and surrounding yourself with positive influences, you strengthen your sense of worth. Self-respect empowers you to make choices that honor who you truly are, creating a life rooted in confidence and authenticity.